welcome back to the Slipstream. I'm Ash.
I'm Trey.
I'm Sachet.
And today we're getting into the first special report of the Slipstream in 2026. And on today's agenda, we're getting into the Australian and Chinese Grand Prix. So they're the first two races of the Formula One season. And as most of you guys know, this is a new year in a new era of Formula One racing called the Active Aero era.
Which is essentially the FIA's way of saying that they've committed to making racing more sustainable in Formula Motorsport. Hybrid engines, smaller chassis, less carbon emissions, and in hindsight of all this, it really does offer better on-track battles, doesn't it?
Indeed. And of course, for the first time in 2014, we have a grand total of 11 teams on the grid. So that's expanded the amount of competition we'll be seeing from here on out.
Definitely.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But before we get into, the nitty-gritty of today's special report, let's take a look into these new regulations and break them down a bit. Ash, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so we have three new big changes that the fans can see in 2026 with Formula One compared to the past four seasons. And those are the turbo hybrid era of the turbo hybrid era, and that's velocity, weight, and the size of the cars.
That's true. And by this, we mean that this season's cars are about 20 centimeters shorter and 30 kilos lighter than the previous cars of the last era. And that's where I kind of rest my case about there being more on-track battles in action.
Yeah, for sure. And just the 30 kilos lighter can show that the cars are lighter, gaining more speed, obviously. So yeah, also the biggest change is how the MGU-H component of the powertrain has completely replaced to increase the size of the electrical components of the car, the battery, the engine reserve, all that stuff.
Yeah, and keep in mind that the MGU-H has been around since the V8 era for like the past 15 or so years of F1 racing. So this isn't something that people can just overlook. So in fact, the only component of these 2026 cars is that they barely change with regards to the tires.
Yes, so the tires actually vary from year to year, but here we have a whole new shift in cars. So it's pretty severe. But let's not forget what the FIA took away from us. The drag reduction system, DRS.
It really is a shame that the one component that seems to give each driver a somewhat equal amount of advantage, an equal amount of advantage, they just took it away with it. They just took it away like that, and it's no longer here with us. So I guess, rest in peace to the DRS.
R.I.P. DRS.
Yep. Indeed.
But yeah, when all is said and done, the FIA have two goals in mind at the end of the day with these new regs: cutting-edge racing battles and fuel-efficient League of Motorsport, which I think are pretty key components, even without the drag reduction system.
Yeah, of course, but also, stirring up a bit of conflict amongst, team members and team principals and drivers. There are a lot of conflicting opinions, as we can see, for lack of a better word.
Indeed. And I mean, the changes that they're making, especially with like the lighter weight cars, that increases the speed, but it is going to have to test the waters a little bit with how, these smaller, more compact cars are going to perform on tracks. So.
I don't think it really increased the speed as much as it did take a lot away from it, because in this one video, do you know the YouTube channel Daily Fuel Up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Finally face revealed after 20 million freaking years. Anyways, though, he did say, if I recall correctly, that there has been a 200 horsepower decrease in these cars just as a result from the whole engine change.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What is your opinion on that? What are your guys' opinion on that?
I think that's kind of convoluted logic, because you had the FIA saying that they want, they're increasing on-track action, but you're also reducing speed at the same time. That's just very conflicting. So I don't really like it. And, we've always been on the come up with engines transitioning from V6 to V8 to now V12. So taking away that prominent part of the engine, I feel like we're regressing.
Yeah, I don't know. We did look into what the official F1 website tells us about these new regs, and they're talking about this new feature called the boost button. And I guess this boost button is kind of a replacement for the DRS. And yeah, what do you think about such?
The boost button. Honestly, it's a little early to tell, because I don't think we've seen it in that great of action yet. It was a new addition. So compared to the previous, I'm a little skeptical to see how, it will perform on tracks. I mean, the button, when compared to like a full-fledged system, I mean, how exactly are you going to maintenance will be easier on it for sure, since there are not many mechanical moving parts there. But again, I'm kind of in that, okay, this is interesting, kind of want to see more with how it performs, so it's a little early to tell.
Yeah, what the Boost, well, not the Boost, what the F1 website tells us is that Boost allows a driver to take manual control of energy deployment if they need to attack or defend from another racer on track, and the button triggers a change in the power unit settings.
Okay, so like what I'm getting from this is that the drivers can kind of manipulate the powertrain through the battery deployment system. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, then all the stuff we will mention about the drivers not being used to this style of driving makes total sense. And you kind of had the fans on board with this too, because it was a very like primitive kind of like name for just a boost button. Like you kind of seen like cartoons, you just hit like nitro boost and you go. I like to think that F1 is a lot more complicated than that, and so it being dumbed down to a boost button kind of takes it away from.
It's like that one, the Asphalt 8 Airborne game, right?
Yeah, of course.
I used to play all the time on my tablet and my phone.
I'm an avid Asphalt gamer.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Absolutely, you just click like a little button on your tablet and you just zoom. Like we're not in an iPad.
Yeah, it's like the arcade games, right?
Yeah, I mean, and they said video games would never come to life. Well, that's kind of where we're going now.
Anyways, so reasonably enough, the team principal stepped in to voice their thoughts on this, I guess, for lack of a better word, foreign style of driving and management. And Andrea Stella says that the drivers were not prepared for this engine change whatsoever, and that these new closing speeds in the corners would be too unsafe for the drivers.
But the CEO of F1, Stefano Domenicali, stated that these changes were necessary in reducing the reliance on electrical power in the new engines or lowering the amount of super clipping where a car harvests energy at a certain point when a driver is still in full throttle.
Yeah, I find that so funny though, because like, think about how many lockups all the drivers had in testing.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like super clipping is supposed to reduce speed in an efficient way, but the drivers still haven't found a way to do it, and it's not even really their fault.
Yeah.
And it does make me wonder whether or not the FIA body or the teams had enough time to adapt to these new changes, or if they should have been spoken about earlier or come later and we just stuck with the turbo hybrid era for a couple more years. But I don't know. It's the FIA has not been the same since 2021.
It really hasn't. And I feel like the drivers have like been given the jump on this just at the beginning of the 2026 season, when you had so much time since 2022 to like get them used to it. But
yeah. I mean, what's your take, Sach?
I mean, the fact that it's still kind of testing the waters even into the 2026 season, like you'd think, 4 years would be a good amount of time for them to make better decisions and, maybe streamline the process a little bit. It's a little dicey, I think we can all agree.
Yeah, even Cadillac, who were expecting these new regulations to work out in their favor, they haven't really, gotten there yet. So I don't know. Time will definitely tell, but
and we'll get into like more of what how the teams have been doing so far in the season.
Yeah, but given the fact that we're still in those earlier stages, we're obviously encountering a few teething troubles here and there. So for obvious reasons, a lot of drivers and specific teams have been complaining about the car's drivability and powertrain, which I honestly can't blame them, since they lost about 200 horsepower of speed due to the lighter weight of the cars and how to actually manage the vibrations in the car now that they're so compact.
Yeah, speaking of which, both Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll at Aston Martin have been complaining about their vibrating steering wheels and cockpits since the moment they stepped out onto the track. And it was very clear on their driver radios that this was happening during the race as well. And it's just been a running joke that the race engineers have it out for Alonso, but now they've roped Stroll into it too. And
I think Honda has it out for Alonso.
Yeah.
Because remember, Aston Martin switched from Mercedes to Honda engines.
Yeah.
But Stroll, and I kid you not, this is what he described driving the car and testing as. He described it as kind of like being on an electric chair
during testing.
And Alonso, he had to pull in on multiple occasions because the vibrations were literally hurting his hands. They were causing bruising, blisters, all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's honestly comparable to Lewis Hamilton struggling with the porpoising.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
In the Mercedes W13 in the first year of the turbo hybrid era, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like, I don't want to use too much Gen Alpha language, but I feel like the unks of the grid really just take the short end of the stick when it comes to these new regulation changes. And it really is sad that they suffer this fate in specifics. But speaking of fate, somebody has to tell Alonso to stop trusting Honda, for the love of God. It never ends well.
It really doesn't.
Yeah, it really, the only fate that he has at this rate is going into retirement, right, Sach?
Indeed. I mean, all the things we've seen with Alonso trusting Honda. I mean, your Honda 93, this is kind of random, your Honda 93 is your worst enemy. Yeah, I think that principle applies here, considering he has just not had the best of luck. And I mean, given with all these new changes that we've discussed so far, yeah, I think your luck with Honda can go from bad to worse, given the decisions that they're making on their end.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long story, and I guess we can cover it in another episode. But as for some of the other struggling teams, per se, Cadillac has had a bit of a slow start, where in testing they only scraped in the top 10 in like one session or two of them. And both Bottas and Checo have had one retirement each in the first two race weekends.
Which is honestly okay, because they're multitasking, and you have one department developing their own engines, and the other departments are either trying to bring in American sponsorship or just the current chassis of the car to everybody's liking.
Which I guess it's even harder for them because they came into the picture in 2025.
Yep.
Well, technically 2024 when they proposed their team, and in 2025 they were putting together a concept of the car, but then new regulation changes came in and they just had to immediately switch back. And they probably had to rethink how they were going to invest their resources.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that Cadillac is doing like not too bad, considering all things. If we think back to 27, when did Haas first enter?
Haas first entered in 2016.
I was about to say 2016, and they struggled really hard. And we, like, with rookie teams, it's just honestly normal for that to happen. So that's the most recent team entering F1 that we can compare it to. So Haas 2016 versus Cadillac 2026. Cadillac is doing comparatively much better.
I feel like Haas actually did the best that any team possibly could, because think about it. In the first two races as a team, Grosjean scored P6 and P5, which took them to like the best of the best. I mean, the best of the rest in the championship. They didn't really move much from there. 2017 didn't move much. 2018, obviously, their best year. They scored P5 in the championship, and Magnussen was actually the taking the reins at that point. But I think Cadillac, given all these new regulations and the FIA rulebook, and they're in a much more strict position.
Yes. But, on the contrary to Cadillac, there are two teams that seem to have this thing like figured out completely. Mercedes and Ferrari. Big fan of Mercedes. I've been a big fan of Mercedes, but even more so this season. And Ferrari's really gotten it together. It's so fun to see the red back up in the yes, it's so fun to see the red back up there.
But in all seriousness, it does feel like 2015 all over again, like 11 years ago. Crazy. And it honestly isn't the worst thing in the world for entertainment's sake.
Hell no.
Yeah, no. But Leclerc did say that some teams may be sandbagging to give Merck and Ferrari the illusion of being 2 seconds ahead, when he said it's difficult where we really stand because teams are hiding their true form.
Honestly, I would kind of chillax if I were him.
Yeah,
I mean, we saw that both Mercedes and Ferrari were in a league of their own in these past two races and in the Chinese sprint. But I do see where he's coming from, and I would take racing a lot more seriously if I knew that I actually had a chance to win the title from this early on.
Yes, for sure. And I do think it's kind of funny because he's kind of skeptical of his success right now in the beginning.
Because
he's been
suffering for the past 5 years.
Poor guy.
Poor guy. The past 5 years, it's just been and it's...
You have Monaco 2021, Monaco 2022, France 2022, Netherlands 2023. What races in 2024 did they absolutely win? They actually did have a good chance. And then 2025, all year for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Pretty much demolished the whole time.
Yeah. I think in 2024, whatever races signs didn't place well and were like the Ferraris like bad races, I would say. But we do wish him the best of luck. But on the subject of luck, that went all out the window for Red Bull and McLaren.
Okay, you want me to go ahead? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, since you're so curious to know, I'll put it this way. 1, this has been Max Verstappen's worst start to the World Drivers' Championship since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And the Red Bull back then was just a ticking time bomb with the engine ready to explode at any given moment. And 2, the safety car has completed more Grand Prix laps than Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri has not started a single freaking race.
To catch you guys up on the last 2 races, Oscar Piastri DNS'd in the Australian Grand Prix because he crashed on the formation lap, and he DNS'd for the Chinese Grand Prix because both of McLaren's had engine failures.
Yeah, and
Oscar Piastri was last year's championship leader for quite some time. Now, I understand the engine problems were not his fault, but crashing on a formation lap? Are we serious?
When you contended for the title.
The equivalent of going 100 yards, tugging nothing, and going up in flames. But getting back on track, what we're trying to say here is that, both Red Bull and McLaren have run into some serious reliability problems regarding the new regs, and one could say that it isn't their fault as much as the media makes it out to be, because, I mean, come on, they were championship rivals on both ends last year.
I don't know what to say. I'm speechless. I'm done. I'm done speaking about it for now, because I feel like if I'm going to say anything else, it's just going to bring worse luck to them, and I don't want that.
Yeah, kind of like everything, all the evil spells that fans have been casting on them last year have finally it's finally taken place now. Oh my gosh. And it's really funny because my roommate, she's starting to get into F1 a little bit, and she asked me questions about McLaren, and it's very confusing to explain to her that McLaren is great, but now they're not great because they're DNSing. But, like, they were championship leaders last year. Like, she's like, what? How inconsistent is the sport? I was like, not, like, just...
It's not usually this inconsistent. No. After 2021, with the new turbo hybrid era and the ground effect regulations, it became really inconsistent.
Oh, yeah.
That's absolutely the truth.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, but Grand Prix recaps.
Yes, we got to do a quick recap of this now. Okay, first 2 Grand Prix of the season, starting with Australia. Ferrari was surprisingly the most consistent team in the free practices and never finished below top 5. A round of applause to them. And in contrast, Cadillac was consistently in the bottom 5 to 6 finishers, as we saw.
But let's commend Arvid Lindblad, the rookie driver at just 18 years old, 18 and a half years old technically. Mm-hmm. He finished in the top 5, the top 8, and just below the top 10 in free practices 1, 2, and 3. And we can see that despite all this talk about the regs and Lindblad seems to have gotten it somehow just right, which I'm really surprised by this kid. So good for him.
Yes, and impressive doesn't even begin to cover it for him, because something even more impressive was seeing George Russell climb his way to the top of these free practice sessions and continuing that momentum in both qualifying and Grand Prix Sunday.
And as you guys know, I may be a Mercedes boy, but my man Hamilton, he is back. He is back. He finished P2 in the first and third free practice sessions, P4 in the second session. I still stand Mercedes, but Hamilton is my boy.
Of course, he's the GOAT. He's everyone's.
Yeah, gotta respect that. I mean, but we all gotta respect the effort put into qualifying by 3 specific drivers: Kimi Antonelli in P2, the rookie Arvid Lindblad, as we just discussed, in P9, heck yeah, and Gabriel Bortoleto in P10. Like, keep in mind, Nico Hülkenberg has been consistently better than Bortoleto all throughout qualifying. And hey, that's very respectable.
Yeah,
so.
but like the Brazilian would not just finish the race, but he scored points on the team's debut as the Audi brand. And guess who he finished behind? Arvid Lindblad, the rookie driver who also scored points on his debut.
Just a very impressive race result overall. And not to mention that Pierre Gasly and Hamilton made some pretty good ground in that race too. Gasly went from P14 to P10. It seems like the Mercedes engine is working out for Alpine. And Hamilton went from P7 to P4.
That's really good results for most of the drivers in the Australian Grand Prix. But of course, for every triumph, there has to be a failure. You can't have every driver being on top, right? So Isaac Hadjar, who qualified P3 on his Red Bull debut, mind you, ran into a MGUK problem halfway through the race. And Max Verstappen, who started in the pit lane due to crashing out in qualifying, just barely beat out Oliver Behrman in the Haas. And you guys know how Oliver Behrman performed in that Haas last year.
Oh my gosh. And arguably the saddest part of the race is, as you said, Oscar Piastri crashing on the formation lap. He was in P5, and he could have given Australia their first home podium in the history of Formula One.
At his home race.
But yeah, it's very sad though.
Yeah, and let's not overlook some of the other problems that they had with the new regs on track at that time. So both Aston Martin drivers retired due to reliability issues. Williams couldn't come up with a good enough strategy, nor had he the speed. And Antonelli had a horrible, and I mean horrible, start and dropped places from the front row, and Hülkenberg didn't even make it out of the pit lane to even start the race.
So, as you guys can obviously pick up, reliability has been a horrible issue for a lot of these midfield teams, and even some of the teams that seem like they could be front runners, but they just don't have the pace nor the capacities to keep up that momentum.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so all in all, George Russell won the race. Kimi Antonelli made it a Mercedes 1-2 for the first time since Brazil 2022. And actually, this is the first time Mercedes have led both championships since the season opener in 2022. So it's a good season to be in black and teal.
Ric Flair's. Anyways, though, Ferrari did have...
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean 2022, 2021.
Right. Yes. You gotta know your ball knowledge. Anyway, so Ferrari had the best pace after them because Leclerc came home in P3 and Hamilton finished in P4. And we obviously have to take a moment to commend Behrman for his P7 finish in the Haas car. And this would only get better for him the following weekend.
Yeah, oh, for sure. So, I mean, the most unexpected surprise was seeing Haas be seemingly the best of the rest. But honestly, it has to do with the CEO, Gene, and his decision to bring Ayao Komatsu to the forefront of the team.
Yeah, and it's definitely a great forefront. But let's move on to the forefront of the Chinese Grand Prix because we got little time.
Yeah, all right. So let's take it away then. So, well, because there was a sprint race and Grand Prix, the drivers and teams had one practice session to get themselves in order. And as for Aston Martin and Cadillac, the practice session was no different since they were at the tail end of the result chart.
But the big difference is, however, Verstappen finished P8, and Hadjar finished P13 for the Red Bull. And so it seems that part of the team's new Ford powertrains and their struggles with the new regs are a lot bigger than we thought.
And I mean, the same could be said about Williams. Look at what they were doing last year and look how consistent they were. They're just having a hard time adjusting to the new chassis and testing. And aside from Aston Martin and Cadillac, they're also kind of the back markers. And I do feel horrible for both Sainz and Albon because it seems like Albon was promised so much more when he came into this position in 2022. and it felt like Sainz was actually going to give Williams that comeback and that momentum with his experience. But they never really got more.
I don't think we can count Williams out just yet, because I definitely feel that Williams is a second half kind of team players, They always come back. I still have hope because, I really like Williams, Sainz, Albon. And, when you have consistent upward efforts like from 2025, I think it'll translate over to 2026. Or, we'll see. I'm choosing to stay hopeful.
I'm also choosing to stay hopeful about them. They have the Mercedes engine. We see how that works out with Mercedes. But Mercedes, I don't know if they're still going through that, 2019 Ferrari engine kind of controversy.
Yeah, and Albon is also a really flexible driver to adjust to all of these changes. So hopefully, they'll pull through.
Definitely.
Anyways, going into the sprint on Saturday, the three front-running Brits of the grid, Hamilton, Russell, and Norris, all qualified and finished in the top four in roughly the same positions. The only difference is that Hamilton finished P3 and a P4 qualifying, and vice versa for Norris. Russell obviously took sprint victory.
And the one thing that we should shout out is Liam Lawson. He qualified P13 in sprint qualifying and went all the way up to P7 and scored 2 points for the Racing Bulls team. And it seems like a lot of the midfield teams who have the capacity and have that momentum to actually score points, they actually are adjusting well to the regulations, which we can give them credit for.
Yes, and Lawson was actually repeat in this qualifying race pattern on the Grand Prix Sunday. Qualified P14 and climbed up to P7. But speaking of race patterns, we gotta address Max Verstappen.
Oh my God. What happened at the start of the sprint and the Grand Prix? It just looked like he couldn't shift gears properly, and that the Red Bull had general troubles with their tire revs, or maybe we're just missing something. I don't know.
I'll tell you what it is. It's not just rev speeds or acceleration.
Yeah.
Sky Sports has been on the record reporting, and I quote, this is what they said: Verstappen also struggled with the RB22's handling and tire degradation all weekend. Sound familiar, Haas? He described it as incredibly tough to drive and saying that every lap is a fight.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of like the Ferrari F14T. When the 2014 regs came into play, the only difference is that they haven't switched the V6 engines we currently have. But knowing that these two paths are so similar, do you think that kind of defines Verstappen's fate going forward?
No. He's definitely going to come back in one way or another. He may not contend for the title at all for the rest of the season, but he could still squeeze out a couple of podiums. You could probably get a win if, Red Bull gets their act together, and I mean quickly. But, Verstappen... Satya, you are a Verstappen fan, correct?
Correct.
What is your outlook?
I am, first of all, at a loss for words on what happened.
Fair enough.
But I mean, at the same time, given everything we discussed with all the changes, regulations, and all that kind of stuff, I mean, at the same time, I get why you would struggle, but I mean, to have a rocky start right off the bat, I'm like, Verstappen, is that actually you? I know you're better than this.
It's not him. It's not all him, though.
I mean, it's not all him, yeah, but I mean, I'm just at a loss for words right now. So,
and I mean, speaking of Norris and McLaren, we need to address the even bigger elephant from this race. McLaren, get it together, please. And Zach, that World Championship hotline that you were talking about? Maybe it's time to close the doors on that.
Put the phone down.
Yeah, put the phone down and just touch some grass, look your drivers dead in the eyes, and promise them a good car.
Yeah.
Or I will promise you this hand across your face.
Yeah. They're just becoming prime GP2 McLaren from 2015. No starts, no points, no reliability, and no value. And there's, as you said, already no championship hotline as it is. But if you weren't aware, both McLarens, as I said before, didn't even start on Sunday in China. And they're at risk of losing P3 in the Constructors' Championship to Haas, of all teams.
Bro.
Haas.
Blood. folk, pal.
Now, I don't know if you guys are up to date with trends, but everyone's saying 2026 is the new 2016. Haas, yeah, if this is 2016, Haas,
they've got it together.
Haas has got it together. We're bringing back 2016 Haas, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, at the start, but then that means that they're not going to score any points to the United States.
Wait, yeah.
Well, it's not.
Well, not exactly
okay.
2016.
Yeah, I don't think we should just mope on all that crap. I mean, let's cover two things, not just great things that happened, but history-making feats. First off, Kimi Antonelli became the youngest pole sitter in F1 history on Saturday with the Grand Prix, qualifying, and the second youngest F1 Grand Prix winner ever. And judging by that, Kimi is here to stay.
And guess who else is? Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton. That's right. So he finished P3 and took his first podium since Las Vegas in 2024, which I don't know how I was mentally stable for the whole 2025 season. I was losing it. And in Christ's name, thank the Lord. Could not be happier for him. He absolutely deserves it.
And yeah, this was the most wholesome podium we've ever seen. The two Mercedes finishing a 1-2, with Hamilton, a Mercedes former Golden Boy, getting his first podium in almost a year and a half, and his first time with the Scuderia Ferrari. And so how it was stacked up was Russell, Antonelli, and Hamilton. And Toto Wolff said the sweetest thing at the end of that race. He thought that there were three Mercedes and that they got a 1-2-3. That was so sweet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so Toto Wolff just thought that Hamilton was just one of his drivers again, and it was so nice to see a 1-2 Mercedes and then a third former Mercedes. That's so sweet.
He definitely plays the role of that father figure.
Oh yes, for sure.
And I guess we should take some time to express our opinions on these new regulations. What are your guys' takes? You can start first.
I kind of said this before. Mercedes have always been on the come up, so I'm really glad to see them thriving this season. I think it's about time. I do feel bad for some of the older drivers not being able to keep up with the change of these regs. But you got to win some, you got to lose some. So
Right. I mean, in terms of, intercommunal decisions with the regs and how they handle the drivers and the press and all, they've definitely been on and off about that. But given the conflict and the war that's going on in Iran and the Middle East, they definitely are good with their diplomatic decisions.
Yes.
They canceled, unfortunately, the Bahrain and the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Oh, they haven't canceled Qatar yet?
They have not canceled Qatar yet.
Okay.
Because it's all the way out in December, and
this is true. Yeah,
we need to just keep an eye out on how this conflict goes.
Yeah.
But other than that, smart decision by Stefano Domenicali and the other higher-ups.
Honestly, only decision because that's the only decision to make in this scenario.
Yeah, imagine if it were 1970.
Yeah, honestly, the stuff I'm seeing with F1 in terms of my takes on things, I feel like it's kind of a mixed bag. On one hand, we have these great feats with Kimi Antonelli, and definitely there are improvements in the engineering space with the more compact cars and whatnot. But I mean, even then, I feel like there are definitely quite a lot of drawbacks. If Verstappen, you and I need to have a little talk. I just want to talk to you. But anyway, that aside, the teething troubles, it's kind of a mixed bag. But I mean, I will say this. The 2016 Antonelli coming back, great. Mercedes getting better at the decision-making. But in terms of the other leagues, I kind of hope they follow suit with what Mercedes is doing right now. So I'd say it's kind of a middle ground. I kind of want to see where things go further before, giving more concrete thoughts later on.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, only time will tell. And speaking of time, we are out of it, but we will see you back for yet another special report on the Japanese Grand Prix. Make sure you catch it. It is Sunday, March 29th. For us, it is at 1 a.m. and I need to purchase an Apple TV subscription so I can actually watch it.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is it for today's special report. Thank you so much for joining back. I'm Trey.
I'm Ash.
I'm Sachet.
And we will see you next time. Peace out.
Bye.